Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And by Purolator Filters. Purolator, the first name in filters.
I know you love to reminisce, but I'm a grown man, okay?
Do you want some more milk for your cookies there, Judge?
Art Castle and McCormick, Saturday evenings at 6 on TV 50.
Jeff Horn dominates the midget action while Steve Knowlton takes home the victory in the Pro Stocks at Lee on Friday. Three-time Indy champ visits Star while Scott Heil takes home his first win ever and Pete Biondaka captures 2 victories. On Sunday, Jeff Crowley takes another win in the Bud Lights while Dan Greenwood wins his first V6 Super Race of the year. All of this and much more on this week's edition of Trackside, your New England Auto Racing magazine. Trackside is brought to you by your local speedway, Lee, Star, and Hudson. Jeff Crowley, Mike Murphy, Billy Bike, Dave Blanchard, Finch Fenton, Gary Casella, Dick Williams, Kevin LeClaire, and many, many more will be racing to win the $1,000 top prize in the 11th annual Gate City Classic at Hudson Speedway this Sunday, beginning at 6 p.m. The 11th annual Gate City Classic at Hudson Speedway this Sunday, August 21st at 6 p.m.
Hi-ho, this is Kermit the Frog, and this is one of my very favorite places to visit, a forest. You know, forests are great places to go if you want to camp or hike or just admire the beautiful greenery.
So this is a forest, huh? Wow.
Ooh, check out all these leaves. Wait a wait, tell them back home at the South Pole.
As I was saying, forests are great places for everyone to visit. Not only that, forests are where we get wood, and forests help keep our air and water clean.
Smell that fresh air, Millie.
Forests are also home to lots of different animals. Unfortunately, these days our forests are in serious trouble. They're being threatened by development and by people who don't respect them. It's important to save our forests, and there are things you can do to help. To find out, write to Forests, National Wildlife Federation, Washington, D.C. 20036.
Hey, let's get a picture with the talking frog.
Remember, forests are more than trees.
Uh-huh.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Trackside, your New England Auto Racing magazine. Bill Birch taking a well-deserved rest this week. I'm Dan Wolf, and I'll be your host for the next half hour. Well, the NEMA Midgets were the headliners at Lee USA on Friday, and Drew Fernoro found himself out of the race even before things get started. Fernoro struck some oil on the track and rolled his car over. On the second start for the NEMA Midgets, Babe Shaw led the field across the start-finish line with Lee Smith, Jeff Horn, and Doug Cleveland right behind. Jeff Horn in the number 47 machine made some quick moves and quickly took the lead, followed by Smith, Cleveland, and Shaw. As Horn burned up the track, stretching his lead out to a half a track, the action shifted to the race for second place. Lap after lap, Lee Smith in the number 2, Doug Cleveland in the car number 14, and Bobby Seymour in the number 1 did battle. Finally, Cleveland and Seymour were side by side trying to take over third. After a couple of laps, Seymour pulls the number 1 into third place. Up in front, Horn begins to lap the field. All race long, Horn was the fastest car on the speedway. up on the number 2 of Smith, and they start battling for the second spot. Finally gets by on the outside. Now a new driver in the picture, the number 80 machine of Mike Pavuli gets into a group of 4 race cars. Jeff Horn goes on to a big win with Doug Cleveland second, Bobby Seymour third, Mike Pavuli fourth, and Lee Smith in fifth. The NEMA Midgets are off this weekend. They will return to action next Saturday at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway in Scarborough, Maine. Chris Romano will file a complete report. Next up at Lee were the Pro Stocks. On the front row was number 34, Dick Byron, on the pole, with number 88, Steve Knowlton, on the outside pole, followed by Wayne Hallowell and Joey Carafas. At the start, the number 2 machine of Jim McCallum gets sideways in turn 4, but at the front, it was the number 88 machine of Steve Knowlton grabbing the lead. Following Knowlton was Wayne Hallowell and Dick Byron, while Pete Frappier moved into 4th. After a couple of laps with Knowlton and Hallowell up front, Pete Frappier starts to get some pressure in the form of the number 1 car of Mike Whedon. The backstretch, Whedon powered the Gagliani machine into 3rd. Knowlton continued to lead with Hallowell and Whedon rounding out the top 3. Man Marty Dumas gives the halfway mark, and the order was the same with Knowlton, Hallowell, and Whedon. This parade continued for a couple of laps. Drivers holding their top positions, with Pete Frappier and Buzzy Bezanson following. Suddenly, the number 77 of Hallowell gets squirrely in the number 1 turn, giving Mike Whedon the opportunity to get by. The field again stretched out, with Knowlton starting to get pressure from Whedon. After a late yellow flag restart, Knowlton again pulled out into the front, and he held on for the win. Whedon finished 2nd with Frappier 3rd, Buzzy Bezanson 4th, and Wayne Hallowell in 5th. A very good win for Steve Knowlton. Knowlton continues to impress competitors at Lee USA on the Coors Tour and on the Busch North Series with his performance. Also at Lee, Mike Whedon continues to lead that Pro Stock point race. Well, next up, On to Saturday night at Star Speedway, where they had a very important visitor in three-time Indy 500 champ Johnny Rutherford. Johnny, you're here at Star Speedway in conjunction with Mac Tools Night. How do you like the Saturday night type bull ring racetracks?
Well, I tell you, it's my kind of racing. That's the way I learned how to race years ago, was on this type of racetrack. Only it was dirt. I have run dirt and pavement, and I enjoy them both, and I think this is probably the most exciting kind of racing that there is, without a doubt, because you see new guys getting their start, and you see the veterans who really know how to negotiate traffic getting around here, so it's real American racing.
You've had a long and illustrious career. How about a little bit about your favorite race?
Well, obviously, having won the Indianapolis 500 3 times, that would have to be the greatest thrill of my career, but I've had a lot of exciting things. Setting a new world record at Daytona, the first time I ever set in a Grand National stock car in 1963, was a big thrill for me and boosted my stock and got me a chance to go to Indianapolis. Winning the National Sprint Car Championship in 1965 with USAC. So I've had a lot of really neat things over my career that happened to me, but highlight still winning Indy.
In the beginning of your career, did you ever have a chance to race here in New England?
No, I take that back. I raced USAC sprint cars at Stafford Springs Speedway in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and that's probably the only time that I can recall, other than racing in Pennsylvania and at Oswego. We raced the USAC sprint cars at Oswego a couple of times, so I have raced up here a little bit, and they're great race fans up here. I tell you, it's very enjoyable to run for these people because they really do yell and shout for you.
Lately, you've picked up a ride here and a ride there. Are you looking for a weekly, serious ride with the kind of sponsor that you could be competitive in?
Well, obviously I am, yes. It all boils down to sponsorship. Finding a sponsor that will put the bill for the season, to be able to run all 15 races in CART and USAC as far as Indianapolis and Indianapolis type racing goes. So I'm busy now trying to put together sponsorship for a 3-year program like the one I had with Vermont American Tool, and then of course the Mac Tool people were excellent at Indy this year, and it was a one-shot deal with Kenny Bernstein and the Buick people. So I would like to see them get in and come to IndyCar racing, because it has been I think very good for them, and it would be good for whoever they were teamed with.
Recently, you've been doing more and more race media coverage. Would you like to move over into that in the next few years and let that be your career?
Well, yeah, of course, I have done a lot of television commentary for NBC, in fact, all 3 major networks, and ESPN now. I'm working this year on 6 races with ESPN, so it's something I enjoy doing very much and would probably like to do that when I did decide to retire from active driving.
Is there a goal that you have, one more thing that you'd like to do before you do retire?
Well, obviously win Indianapolis again and again and again. Just be successful, I think, and have an operation. I think to have a team and an operation behind me that we can go out and enjoy success again. That's probably would be my the one thing that would really end my career properly, and it'd be a big thrill for me.
A great pleasure for me to have the opportunity to interview with 3-time Indy 500 champ. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll look at a first.
Brian Ross wins the Budweiser 150 for the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour at Riverside Park. Mike Stefanik secures another Modified Tour victory at the Thompson International Speedway. Mike McLaughlin back in the winner's circle. He leads the points on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. 30 of the best tour drivers: Mike McLaughlin, Reggie Ruggiero, George Kent, Jim Spencer, and more. The best drivers for the hottest event on the tour. Wednesday, August 24th at the Star Speedway in Epping, New Hampshire.
Drugs are great. Drugs make me strong. Drugs make me smart. Drugs make me feel good. Drugs make me cool. Do you believe that crap? Huh? Do you believe all that stuff they're handing you about drugs? You want want to believe in something, how about yourself? Don't do drugs.
Brought to you by MTV, RAD, and your local cable system.
F. Crowley, Mike Murphy, Billy Bike, Dave Blanchard, Finch Fenton, Gary Casella, Dick Williams, Kevin LeClaire, and many, many more will be racing to win the $1,000 top prize in the 11th annual Gate City Classic at Hudson Speedway this Sunday, beginning at 6 p.m. The 11th annual Gate City Classic at Hudson Speedway this Sunday, August 21st at 6 p.m. Welcome back. Well, now it's time for the Supers at Star, and before the green flag ever flew in the Star Speedway Super Modified feature on Saturday night, a red flag for the Beer Wars, when Scott Martell crashed the Miller Beer-sponsored Super Modified into the Budweiser sign on the Star back straightaway. Fortunately, Martell was uninjured, but the Bud sign was removed, as well as a severely damaged Super Modified automobile. When the green flag finally flew, the number 12 of Scott Heil took off with the 88 of Jim Sheeny right behind him. A quick yellow for Jim Lowry Jr. and another restart. This time, Scott powered the number 12 to a quick lead. As Heil put distance between him and the rest of the field, the race for second was frantic. Sheeny, Russ Wood, Nate Boatwell, and Dick Batchelor all battled for second. These four cars put on some great racing. As Jim Hanks gave them the halfway flag, the field began to stretch out. Heil took total command and went on for the win with Cheney in second, Batchelor third, Wood fourth, and Boatwell fifth. Now let's talk with a very happy Scott Heil.
Scott, your first Star Speedway Super win ever, and an Oswego qualifier.
Well, like I said before, I haven't done this before, so I really don't know what to say, except for I love it. It feels great. I've been involved with racing for a long, long time, and this is my second year in a Super Modified, and boy, I'm just thrilled to death with winning this tonight.
How come the car was so fast tonight?
Well, I taped a piece of lead onto my gas pedal sneaker.
How about Oswego? Does it scare you to go up there and run with that many good drivers and that fast of a track?
No, it doesn't frighten me at all. The only thing that frightens me about it is this little motor I have. It's just a small motor, and it's good for here in Lee, but out there I don't know whether it'd be competitive. So who knows? If I come up with something from now and till then I'll be there.
This was Scott Heil's first win ever, and an interested bystander on Victory Lane was Johnny Rutherford, and he was finally convinced to jump into Heil's car for a few hot laps on the Star Speedway. Johnny, wearing his street clothes, got a helmet, and off he went. And as you can see and hear from this footage, he took to the track very, very quickly. After a few more laps, the very popular Rutherford wheeled the car back to the finish line, where with a little help he climbed out of the car and gave thumbs up to the appreciative crowd. Pro Stock veteran Pete Fiandaca got to the front in the Pro Stock main event when the early leaders were all involved in a fourth turn spin. Fiandaca then fended off the challenges of point leader Mike Whedon of Haverhill, Massachusetts over the remaining laps to post his second win this season in the Pro Stock division. Mike Murphy of Woburn, Massachusetts finished third, followed by Babe Branscombe, a multi-time former track champion in his first 1988 appearance, and Wayne Hellowell of Draycott, Massachusetts. Eric Hudson of Ipswich, Massachusetts, and Wayne Hellowell were the heat winners.
Mike Murphy challenged you on the outside for about 5 laps in this race. How did you hold him back?
All we did was cover the bottom groove, and that's all we had to do was just hang on the bottom, man. We were running real good getting off the turn, Mike could get in good, but we were getting off so well that it was taking all that advantage he had getting in.
A couple of weeks ago, it was Mel's Trucking Old Timers Night, and about a dozen old-time race cars went out for some hot laps, and they kindled some great memories for the crowd. We thought you might like to take a step back in time. Machines were in great shape. And now, we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll go to Hudson Speedway for their regular program and the Enduro 250.
I love hiking in the forest.
You know, Robin, forests are more than just great places to go hiking in.
They are?
Sure. Forests are homes to lots of different animals. We get wood from forests, and they help keep our air and water clean.
Gosh.
But our forests are threatened by development and people who don't treat them with respect.
Yeah.
To find out how you can help, write to Forest National Wildlife Federation,
Washington, D.C. 20036.
How'd you know that address?
A Frog Scout's always prepared.
I'm John Bon Jovi, and I've been given a script to talk to you about drugs, rock and roll, having fun, a good time, and all that good stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, drugs is not a part of my everyday routine. It's not everyday fun. It's not good for you. All right, so listen, think twice before you do drugs, because there ain't no winners out there doing it.
Brought to you by MTV, RAD, and your local cable system.
USA Speedway is New Hampshire's center of speed. Exciting stock car racing every Friday night at 8 p.m. Fun for the whole family with over 14 races every Friday night. Conveniently located on Route 125 in Lee, New Hampshire, the new and improved Lee USA Speedway features 4 divisions of stock car racing and many special events throughout the whole season. Spend Friday night under the lights at Lee USA Speedway, Route 125 in Lee, New Hampshire.
Welcome back. Hudson Speedway had a very busy Sunday. Besides their regular program, they scheduled the first ever Massachusetts versus New Hampshire Enduro Challenge race. But first, the regular divisions took to the asphalt. In the very first race, the Bud Lights came out, and it looked like on the first try to get a green flag, it was going to be disaster when the number 50 car tried to take off like a jet. After everything settled down, the Bud Lights put on another great race. A prelude, I might add, to tomorrow night's Gate City Classic. As the race progressed, Jeff Crowley moved through the pack, showing for the 10th time this season his strength in the division. Some great competition came from Dave Blanchard, Finch Fenton, and Gary Casella. When the checkered flag fell, it was Crowley over Blanchard, with Fenton, Gary Casella, and Billy Bike completing the top 5. Remember, tomorrow night it's the 11th annual Gate City Classic, and that will run with a $1,000 purse for the winner. Mike Murphy will be there, and he'll be trying to defend his championship and make it 4 straight in the Gate City Classic. In other regular action, Dan Greenwood, the 1987 champion in the V6 Supers, showed his winning form by totally dominating the action. At the finish, it was Greenwood over Mike Murphy and Bud Crotty Jr. In the Thunder division, Carl Tyrone, who has lately shown some real dominance, again captured the win. Second was Sonny Martel, while Scott Bonney was third. Next up, the New Hampshire versus Mass 250 Enduro. As you well know, the Enduros are a lot easier to watch than to report on. So we thought it might be just as much fun to watch and listen to some of the action in the Enduro 250. Quite a time in the Enduro 250. Well, the eventual winner was David Joyce in car number 91X. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because David is a crew member on Pete Frappier's car number 05. And his wife has dominated the women's Enduro division during the past 2 years. Now let's look at some highlights from the Thompson Busch 300 qualifier, where Jimmy Spencer took home the win.
The man who will sit on the pole for the Thompson-Winston 300 is Jimmy Spencer. And Jimmy, about 5 hours ago, I don't think you would have thought that.
Well, Brian, I was really disgusted. The last 4 or 5 races here, well, the last 4 weeks in a row, I should say, we've had flat tires, just a lot of aggravation and problems. And tonight, I want to thank the Lord because he was over us, really. We got into the wall there, the rack and pinion broke. Luck would have it, Flemke was there and cushioned the blow. We didn't do a lot of damage. And the guys worked real hard and got the car back to where it was again. And still wasn't 110%, but it was, you know, it was awful good enough to win the race. And it's important for me to win this race because now I don't have to come in at time trial on Saturday. I have to run Richmond Saturday, so this secures me for coming. I didn't know how else I could get in the show, but to win this race, and I was bound and determined to do it. And we'll be back for the 300. You can bank on it.
You pitted about lap 43 or 44, and then you came on like gangbusters, and you and Michael really put on a show. Lap traffic, though, was really what played the difference in this race.
It really did. Mike ended up losing the race because of 2-lap cars. We're fighting for a position, and Mike committed himself to the outside. I went to the inside and ended up winning the race. And, you know, if Mike would have went low and I would have went high, then he probably would have won the race. But, you know, when he's a leader, he has to make a decision, and I have to follow whatever. I don't follow. I could follow him or make my own decision. I made my own decision to go different, and it ended up working out for me again to win the race.
You haven't run the modifieds on a full-time basis, but when you have run them, you've certainly done a great job with them.
Yeah, you know, it's the same car we've had last 2 years and won me the championship. And, you know, I think that I'm helping the modified division a real lot by going down south. And we're really proud of what we're doing down there. We're doing real well. And all the drivers here are respecting me more. And I respect them more. And the division's growing. Within time, this division will be as big as the Busch Grand National and a standalone basis. And, you know, I hope that I can contribute to that factor. And I like to keep coming back the next 4 or 5 years and just keep visiting because I love the modifieds. And it's where I really made my name and made a lot of friends and fans. And I just hope I can keep doing it.
Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer will sit on the pole for the Thompson-Winston 300 next month.
And remember, all the stars of NASCAR modified racing will be at Star Speedway this coming Wednesday for their annual appearance.
The Budweiser 150 for the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour at Riverside Park. Mike Stefanik secures another Modified Tour victory at the Thompson International Speedway. Mike McLaughlin back in the winner's circle. He leads the points on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. 30 of the best tour drivers: Mike McLaughlin, Reggie Ruggiero, George Kent, Jim Spencer, and more. The best drivers for the hottest event on the tour. Wednesday, August 24th at the Star Speedway in Epping, New Hampshire.
Well, that's about all the time we have this week. And remember, next week we'll bring you the Big A 150 from Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. We'll bring you the Miller Super Modified Series from Lee, the Busch Grand National North Series from Oxford Plains, Supers from Star Speedway, and the Gate City Classic from Hudson. I want to thank everyone for watching this evening, and we will see you and Bill Burt at the races.
If you have plans for the weekend, you have 5 seconds to leave the room. Now through Sunday, August 21st, the world's greatest car and truck show, Exit 39, Route 128. 4 days only to choose from over 1,500 new and used cars and trucks. You'll save like you never dreamed possible with drastic price reductions from some of New England's largest dealers. But your time is running out. It all absolutely ends Sunday at 5 p.m. The world's greatest car and truck sale, never to be repeated and not to be believed. Exit 39 on Route 128. Don't even think of passing it by.